Given the current situation of the Houston Rockets, they are actually coming off a very decent season. They finished the year exactly at 500 with a record of 41-41, and they even made things pretty interesting coming down the stretch of the regular season. Jalen Green, he put on an absolute show and made it look like the Houston Rockets had a chance of catching the Golden State Warriors for that final spot in the play-in tournament, the 10th seed. And we all know, unfortunately, the Houston Rockets, they were not able to get that 10th seed, but like we said, given the situation and the circumstances, a really good year for the Houston Rockets. The last couple of years, they've been in the NBA draft lottery and towards the bottom of the NBA when it came to overall standings. And I say the NBA versus the Western Conference because this year the Western Conference was supremely competitive. We look at the Houston Rockets with the record of 41-41. Majority of the years in the NBA, that could get you a spot in the playoffs as an 8th seed. So for them to be able to be a young and rebuilding team and finish 500 in that very loaded Western Conference, I think that's a great sign for the Houston Rockets, and they took a huge step in the right direction as a team, as an organization, and also as a fan base. This was a huge step forward for the Houston Rockets. And as I look at this team, as I look at what they did in the draft, getting Reed Shepherd and looking at some of the pieces that they're going to be getting back from injuries, guys like Steven Adams, Tari Eason is going to be back full-time. Cam Whitmore is probably going to be back full-time. And all of these pieces, I'm thinking the Houston Rockets, they're going to have a very competitive training camp. And also the addition of A.J. Griffin. He is a player that was chosen high in the NBA draft not too long ago. So some more young talent added to this team. So I think the Houston Rockets, they're revving up to have a very competitive training camp. So in today's video, I kind of just want to go through the starting lineup and then also look at who's going to be the backup at each position for the Houston Rockets. And also you guys can let me know in the comment section if you disagree or agree with me at any different point with these lineups. And coming in at that one spot for the Houston Rockets, we have Fred VanVleet, who is coming off a very decent season for the Houston Rockets. He put up 17 points and 8 assists per game. I think that 8 assists per game from Fred VanVleet is very overlooked. I think that is very impressive in today's NBA. But Fred VanVleet is coming off a very solid season, still has a lot of great basketball left to play. I see no reason for him to lose his starting position to start this season. Still brings a lot impact-wise to the game of basketball. And backing up Fred VanVleet, I think we're going to have Amen Thompson. And you can go Amen Thompson or Reed Shepherd at the backup point guard position, but I'm going to go with Amen Thompson because I believe he is more of a natural playmaker than Reed Shepherd. I look at Reed Shepherd more like a combo guard, but Amen Thompson, I think he's going to be the backup point guard for the Houston Rockets. I think that's not up for debate at all. I think he has that locked down for right now. You guys know what I'm going to say about Amen Thompson. I love watching him play a lot when he has the basketball in his hands. I say this all the time. It's like something I've never seen before. I've never seen somebody so athletic and so shifty and so explosive, but they have it all under control. It's like it's really mesmerizing when he has the basketball in his hands. Like every time it looks like something special is going to happen. But that's what I have at the one spot right now, Fred VanVleet, and then backing him up, I have Amen Thompson. And we move to that 2 spot. The 2 spot is going to be none other than Jalen Green. I think that's a no-brainer as well. I don't see nobody taking that position from Jalen Green, especially what he did down the stretch of last season. He was spectacular, and he was much-watched basketball. I think he had the clip of the year when he was dancing on dude, and then he made him fall, and then he shot the 3, and he turned around before he went in. That's one of the craziest highlights I've ever seen. So I think Jalen Green definitely has that 2 spot locked down for the entire season, and there's no way I could see Jalen Green losing his starting position. I think him and Alperen Sengun are going to work just fine together. I know people were saying that he started going crazy because there was no Sengun, but he actually turned his play around right before Sengun got injured. So really looking forward to seeing those two next season. Then backing him up, I think it's going to be Reed Shepherd, the number 3 pick in the 2024 NBA draft, who's going to be, I think, a very intricate piece for the Houston Rockets. You might see Reed Shepherd closing some games for the Houston Rockets because he's going to bring something to the table that they desperately needed, and that's three-point shooting. Last season, the Houston Rockets, they ranked 22nd in the league when it came to three-point shooting, and they drafted the best shooter in the 2024 draft class. Reed Shepherd was ultra efficient when he played at the University of Kentucky. He shot over 50% from the field and over 50% from the three-point line. So he's going to bring that three-point shooting to the table, and he also brings a lot more. He can score at all three levels. He has the mid-range game, and he's a very underrated finisher around the rim. So I think Reed Shepherd, he's going to be that backup. He's going to be that backup two guard for the Houston Rockets. Now, when we get to these 3 and 4 spots, this is where I think where the competition is going to come in, and where we're going to see them fireworks in the training camp for the Houston Rockets. But starting at that 3 position, I think Dillon Brooks, I see no reason for him to go into next season and lose his starting position unless somebody is just really getting after him in the Houston Rockets training camp. But Dillon Brooks, I know he's become one of the most hated players in the NBA. His peers has voted him as one of the most overrated players in the NBA, but I'm actually a huge fan of Dillon Brooks, and I think a lot of that comes from his antics with LeBron James, and then they ended up losing to the Lakers in the playoffs, and I think Dillon Brooks definitely got scapegoated for that, but that's a conversation for a whole nother different day. But Dillon Brooks is still a very impactful player, and I think he's a starter level talent in today's NBA. And what I love about him is his competitiveness. He's very competitive on the defensive side of the ball, and that's kind of how I like it. I don't like that friendliness out on the basketball court, whether we're at the YMCA, whether we're in a high school game, whether it's the NBA. I want players to be talking to each other, and that doesn't necessarily mean them disrespecting each other or damn they're about to fight each other, but just no friendliness. We out here competing. But Dillon Brooks, one of the best defenders in the NBA, and then offensively he can heat up for you. He's a streaky 3-point shooter. He could have a night where he gets you 4 to 5 3-pointers. He could have a night where he can't buy a 3. So Dillon Brooks, very decent NBA player, and I see him starting to begin the season for the Houston Rockets. And we look at who could potentially back him up. Now, the Houston Rockets, they have a lot of guys, a lot of wings that could play the 3 or they could play the 4 spot, especially in today's NBA. The NBA is getting smaller and smaller each and every year. And the Houston Rockets, luckily for them, they have a bunch of versatile, athletic, rangy wings on this team. And some of the guys that could back up Dillon Brooks at that 3 spot, we can look at Tari Eason. He can play the 3. You can look at Cam Whitmore. You can look at AJ Griffin, who was acquired this offseason. Jeff Green is still on this team. Jayshawn Tate is still on this team. So a lot of guys that can play this 3 spot. For me, I'm going to go with Cam Whitmore as the backup 3. And I think Cam Whitmore, he had a terrific rookie season. Given the situation that he was in, he averaged 12 points per game, 45% from the field, 35% from three-point land, which is very decent for a rookie. And what we saw from Cam Whitmore, he looked like a guy that was pissed off about being drafted 20th overall, because we know Cam Whitmore, and I say this all the time, you go back and look at that draft, it was at the 2023 NBA draft. By the time like the 4th pick got around, 5th pick got around, they showed where it says best available at the bottom. Cam Whitmore's name was there from like pick number 5 all the way up to when he was picked at number 20 by the Houston Rockets. So it's good for him to have the type of talent that he has, and now he has a chip on his shoulder. If he's working hard right now and working on his game, I could definitely see him being a starter for the Houston Rockets at some point next season. And then we move on to that 4th spot. I think it's going to be a lot of competition here as well, but for right now, I see no reason for Jabari Smith Jr. to lose his starting position. The same thing with Dillon Brooks, unless somebody's just absolutely giving it to him in training camp. But Jabari Smith Jr., he's also coming off a very decent season. He's looking good in the Team USA select scrimmages against Team USA. And Jabari Smith Jr., he's one of the players on the Houston Rockets number 3 pick in the 2022 NBA draft, has a lot of upside, but if he doesn't reach that upside, he'll still be a very, very, very solid NBA player. And I think his floor is definitely gonna be a starter in this league because he has size, he can guard multiple positions, he can rebound, and he can knock down the 3-point shot. All those things are very vital in today's NBA. And when it comes to that 4 spot, the same guys that we talked about at the 3 spot can basically slide to the 4 spot as well. But for me, at the 4 spot, I'm gonna go with Tari Eason. And just like Cam Whitmore, I feel like Tari Eason can definitely become a starter at any given time for the Houston Rockets. Now, Tari Eason, him and Amen Thompson, it's a toss-up between those two, who is my favorite player on the Houston Rockets, but it's definitely between those two. I love Tari Eason a lot. What stands out about me is his physical makeup, standing at 6'6", not 6'6", but 6'7", 6'8". He has a 7'2" wingspan. He has an insane vertical jump, and he was measured for the biggest hands in his draft class. So just off his physical makeup alone, there's so much to love off Tari Eason. And then you watch him play, he's a high impact player. He does a lot of great things for the Houston Rockets whenever he is out there on the court. What stands out to me is his ability to offensively rebound. Last year, he averaged 7 rebounds per game to go along with 9 points. And like we said, he's just a high impact player. High impact on the defensive side of the ball, high impact when it comes to rebounding. He does a great job of running the floor, cutting, and it was a big question mark on his three-point shot. When he was coming into the NBA, and I think he's done a great job of putting that noise to bed. Last season, shot 36% from the 3-point line, which isn't lights out shooting, but when you're providing what everything else that he's providing, you'll live with 36% from the 3-point line. So I like Tari Eason a lot. I think he has a lot of upside as a basketball player. Great on-ball defender, great help side defender. He can block shots. He can get on-ball steals, off-ball steals. Tari Eason, he's that guy. And then last but definitely not least, we move on to that 5 spot. And at that 5 spot, have none other than Alperen Sengun. Just like Jalen Green, I think that center position is absolutely locked up. Alperen is coming off a terrific season for the Houston Rockets. He put the league on notice. Just 21 years of age, he can become so much better than what he is right now, and he's already really, really, really good. Terrific at rebounding, terrific at playmaking, and he's just gotten so much better as a scorer since he's come into the NBA. So I'm looking forward to see him next season. And then when we made the draft video on Reed Shepherd last week, I forgot all about Steven Adams being traded to the Houston Rockets because he was injured last season. So having him as a backup, I think that's going to be terrific for the Houston Rockets. And I think Steven Adams, he's one of those guys that can fit into any NBA system because he does all the little things so well. His ability to rebound, especially his offensive rebounding. He sets terrific screens. And then also, he's just a great locker room guy. I think he's going to be a great locker room guy to have around these young players. You never hear anything bad about Steven Adams from his peers, from other NBA guys. But that's how I'm feeling on the rotation right now. But I think it's gonna be super duper. It's gonna be super duper competitive, and I think it's gonna be a really fun training camp. But that's the rotation I could see for right now. You guys can let me know how you feel in the comment section, and then if you enjoyed, please leave a like, and then also subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.